Okay everyone, this is this week's episode of Explosive Hits. I lost the fight footage, so I will just be describing the fights. Here is the fight card, now let's get started. Also, the more time I spend not watching the fights, the less I remember them, so these fight talks will probably get less descriptive as I get to later episodes. In the first fight, Hammerhead got the low ground from the start and was pushing Vertico around easily, and that's pretty much it. It was a control battle from start to finish with Hammerhead dominating. Vertico lost the top piece and Hammerhead lost the two side pieces. Near the end, one of the side pieces of Vertico came loose but didn't completely fall off. Hammerhead won a unanimous decision. Both bots are at 2-1 now. The next fight was Beta versus Railgun Max. Railgun Max's weapon broke really quickly in this fight. I think I'm going to have it glued on for future fights. After that happened, Railgun Max tried to get under Beta using the back wedge, but Beta kept getting to the sides and landing a lot of hammer shots. I know Railgun Max pinned Beta at least once, but I don't remember if Beta lost any pieces. Railgun Max did lose the two side pieces though. Beta ended up winning a unanimous decision. Railgun Max is now 0-3, which is surprising to me. Next, we had the third fight of Driver 2's bot, Big Bully. Before this fight, he replaced the drive motors with ones that spun a lot faster. Big Bully drove extremely fast now, which is good for it because one of its main weaknesses was being slow. However, he didn't get much practice with these new motors. Big Bully wasn't driven well in this fight, and as a result, they couldn't find many opportunities to push their opponent. Gamma 9 actually couldn't get its forks under the front of Big Bully, but they got a lot of opportunities to attack the back with Big Bully's bad driving. They eventually flipped Big Bully over, even got them stuck against the wall at one point, and then freed them. Finally, Big Bully's top panel came loose, and since they were upside down, it high-centered them. They got counted down with 2 seconds left. Alright, now it's time for the sub-main event, the Claw versus Whiplash. This matchup was kinda similar to the Claw's third fight last year against Duck. Not necessarily how the fight went, but the matchup. I seem to like giving the Claw a top-tier opponent for their third fight. They went 2-0 to start both seasons, so they did earn it. Both bots rushed at each other at the start, and the Claw had the low ground and scooped Whiplash onto its wedge. Whiplash got away though and lifted the Claw from the side. This caused the turret on that side to lock up, and the Claw could only move in a small circle. Whiplash tried to keep the fight going by lifting them a few times, but the Claw could barely move, so they ended up getting counted out. The reason their turret got stuck was because when Whiplash lifted them, they bent one of the popsicle sticks on the Claw's wedge in such a way that it was touching the turret, and because of that, it couldn't spin. Whiplash just became the first bot to go 3-0 this season. The fifth fight was Bite Force versus Shatter. I honestly don't remember much of this fight other than a few details. It probably went pretty similar to the fight I did when Shatter was first introduced to this channel. Bite Force got off 2, maybe 3 pieces of Shatter. I know they got the front forks off and one of the side pieces. I don't know if they got the other side piece off. Shatter knocked off the top piece of Bite Force, and maybe a wedge lid as well, but I'm not sure. Bite Force had an easy time pushing Shatter around the box in this fight. They won control and damage, but aggression was hard for us to decide. Judge 2 and I scored aggression differently, but the final outcome was the same. Bite Force won. Oh, and if you're wondering why some of these fights only have 2 judges voting on them, we didn't have enough time to get a third judge to judge them before they got deleted. I mean, we technically did, but I usually don't have the fights be judged until I actually start editing the episodes. And I would always film the fights much time in advance before actually editing the episode. Like I'd be on episode 4 and I'd start filming episode 6 or 7. Alright, next there was Sir Toss-a-Lot versus Blacksmith. At the start of this fight, Sir Toss-a-Lot box rushed Blacksmith, lifted them up, and somehow managed to make both of their side pieces fall off. So they already had a big lead on damage at that point. I don't remember much of what happened after that, but I do know this. At one point, Sword Ocelot charged at Blacksmith again, but their lifter got stuck under the screws, just like in their last fight. Blacksmith was intimidated from that forced exchange, so they left Sword Ocelot there. Sword Ocelot got counted out, and Blacksmith ended up winning that fight. Both bots are now 1-2. The chances of either of them making the tournament are low. And now for the main event, Duck versus Blue Rotato. This fight started off in Duck's favor. They were pushing Blue Rotato all over the arena, lifting them up in the air a lot. They never flipped Blue Rotato upside down though. This continued for the first half of the fight. Then Blue Rotato knocked a wheel off of Duck. Now Blue Rotato had the opportunity to take control of the fight. They were constantly attacking Duck, and Duck couldn't do much because they couldn't drive in a straight line. Still, they somehow managed to get 2 good lifts on Blue Rotato with the drive issue. The fight went to the judges and ended up being a split decision. I scored it for Duck because I thought they did enough in the first half of the fight to make up for the second. Judge 3 thought differently and gave it to Blue Rotato. Then we took the fight to Judge 2 to cast his vote, and he scored it for Duck. The reigning champ season was saved, and now they're almost certain to get in the tournament. Blue Rotato also still has a good record, 2-1, with their only loss being a split decision to Duck. And that's the end of this episode. Same format next week, no footage, just talking. I hope you enjoyed watching it, and I will see you next episode.